Hello everyone. Before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Also, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Let's begin. I moved into the apartment on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. The kind of old building where every wall had a stain and the hallways smelled like detergent and dust. Rent was cheap, and after weeks of searching, I couldn't afford to be picky. Ethan, my new roommate, opened the door before I even knocked. He was tall, thin, and his hoodie looked like it hadn't been washed in months. His expression was calm, almost too calm. "You must be Ryan," he said, smiling faintly. I already cleared the right side of the room. "I stay up late, so don't worry if you hear me walking around." That was our first conversation. Short, strange. I didn't think much of it. College had trained me to accept weird roommates as part of life. The first few nights were quiet. I unpacked, got used to the city noise, and fell asleep to the soft hum of traffic. But around the fourth night, I woke up suddenly. No sound, no reason, just that strange feeling that someone was standing nearby. I glanced toward the door. A thin line of light slipped in from the hallway, and behind it, a shadow moved. Footsteps. Slow, unhurried. They stopped right outside my door. I held my breath. Nothing, no knock, no voice, just silence. Then a few seconds later, the shadow moved away. In the morning, I asked Ethan if he'd been up. He smiled that same tired smile. "Yeah," he said. "I get restless sometimes. I like to walk when the city's asleep." His tone was flat, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Over the next week, I realized Ethan never really slept. I'd wake up at random hours, 1:30 a.m., 3 a.m., sometimes close to dawn, and he'd still be awake, sitting on the couch in the living room, staring at the blank TV screen. No light, no sound, just sitting. One night I stepped out for water. He didn't even look at me as I walked past. His eyes were locked on the reflection in the black screen, and his lips were moving soundlessly. "Ethan?" I whispered. He didn't answer. When I reached the kitchen, I heard him behind me, his chair scraping softly. When I turned back, the couch was empty. I didn't see him again until morning. That day, I started noticing other things, small things that made no sense. My bedroom door was unlocked when I woke up, even though I remembered locking it. My toothbrush was wet before I used it. Once, my phone was lying face down on my desk, screen cracked. I hadn't touched it all night. I started recording audio on my phone while I slept, just to see if I was going crazy. The next morning, I listened back. For hours, there was nothing but silence until around 2:14 a.m. Then I heard it. My door opened. Soft breathing filled the room, slow, steady, almost rhythmic. Then a voice whispered right next to the phone, "Why are you pretending?" I deleted the file immediately. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped the phone twice. When I confronted Ethan later, he didn't deny it. He just said quietly, "You shouldn't record people while they sleep. It's rude." That night I pushed my dresser in front of the door. I stayed up, lights on, watching the crack at the bottom of the door like it was a live thing. Around 3 a.m., the power went out. No light, no hum of the fridge, just darkness. I heard footsteps in the hallway, deliberate and unhurried, then whispering right outside my door. "Are you awake now?" The dresser moved just slightly, as if someone was pressing from the other side. I held my breath, muscles locked, heart pounding so hard it hurt. The pushing stopped. Then came 3 slow knocks. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep the next one either. By morning, I'd made up my mind and I was leaving. I called the landlord and told him I was moving out. He sighed, like he'd heard this 100 times before. "You're not the first," he said. "That kid's been here for years. Never signs a lease, never leaves." I stopped asking questions. When I started packing, Ethan was in the kitchen. He didn't look angry and he looked sad. "You could have just asked me to stop," he said softly. I didn't answer. I hauled the last box to the door, and as I turned the key, he spoke again. You'll miss me when you can't hear me anymore." I didn't look back. I spent that night at a motel across town. Cheap place, buzzing neon sign outside. But at least I could sleep. For the first time in weeks I felt safe. Until 2:17 a.m., something woke me. A soft, steady breathing near the side of the bed. I froze, slowly turned on the lamp. No one there. The room was empty. But on the nightstand, right next to my phone, was a folded piece of paper. My handwriting. It said, "Stop pretending to sleep." I checked out before dawn. That was 6 months ago. I've moved twice since then. Still, every night around 2:17 a.m., I wake up, heart racing, listening, just to make sure no one's standing by the door. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I still hear him pacing. When my last roommate moved out, I swore I'd never share a place again. But rent went up, my hours were cut, and suddenly I was on the roommate finder apps again, scrolling through strangers' profiles that all looked the same. Smiles, filters, perfect bios. Then I saw Mara. Her picture was simple. Messy hair, half smile, holding a cat. No filters. She wrote, quiet, clean, respectful. Night shift nurse. Perfect, I thought. Someone who'd barely be home. She moved in 2 weeks later. At first, she was polite but distant. We crossed paths in the kitchen sometimes. She'd pour tea, hum softly, and disappear back into her room. The first few nights, I almost forgot she was there. Then small things started feeling off. One morning, I walked into the kitchen and saw my own mug sitting in the sink, the one with the cracked handle and coffee stains. I never used it that week. When I asked Mara, she smiled and said, "Oh, sorry, I must have grabbed yours by mistake." No big deal, until it happened again. And again. She started buying the same cereal, same brand of deodorant, even used my shampoo. Once I found my jacket hanging on her chair. I laughed it off to friends. Guess my roommate wants to be me. They joked it was flattering. But at night, I couldn't shake the unease. Then came the photos. One evening, I was scrolling through my phone gallery, looking for a picture of my sister's dog, when I noticed something strange. There were new photos, taken inside my apartment, but not by me. They were of me, sleeping, eating, watching TV. One showed me sitting on the couch, remote in hand, mouth mid-sentence. I dropped the phone. My hands went cold. The timestamp said 2:41 a.m., 3:18 a.m., 4:02 a.m. Mara worked the night shift. She should have been gone. I confronted her the next morning, my voice shaking. "Mara, have you been in my room?" She blinked, looking confused. Then she laughed. Light, practiced. "You must have left your phone unlocked. Maybe you took selfies half asleep." It sounded ridiculous. But her calmness made me doubt myself. That night, I set up a camera, a tiny one I bought online, hidden behind the plant near my dresser. I aimed it at the door and kept the lights off. I woke up at 3:27 a.m. to soft footsteps. The door creaked open. Mara stepped inside. But something about her was wrong. Her hair was my color now, same cut. She wore my hoodie, my jeans, even my sneakers. She walked to the mirror, smiling faintly, and whispered, "Perfect fit." Then she turned toward me. Her eyes were open wide, too wide, and her expression didn't belong to her anymore. I didn't move. I pretended to sleep as she leaned closer, inches from my face. She reached out slowly and brushed my cheek with her fingers. "You look tired," she whispered. Then quietly she added, "You should let me rest for you." I stayed frozen until dawn. When she left for work, I checked the camera. The footage stopped at the exact moment she turned toward me. Static filled the screen and the file corrupted. I packed a bag and spent the next night at my friend Alex's place. At 2 a.m., my phone lit up. Mara was calling. I didn't answer, but a voicemail appeared. Her voice was soft, gentle. "You forgot your face cream? Don't worry, I'm using it for now. It feels just like you." The next day, Alex went to grab more of my stuff. He called me 10 minutes later, panicked. Dude, she's wearing your clothes. All of them. Even your name tag from work. I went straight to the landlord. He said Mara hadn't signed the lease under that name. The ID she gave him belonged to someone who died 3 years ago. Another woman, another city. He changed the locks that day, but when I got home from work the following week, there was a note taped to my door. Same handwriting as mine. You looked tired again. I can help with that. I moved out within 24 hours. Months passed. I moved across town, changed my number, deleted all social media. For a while I felt safe. Then one night, scrolling through a housing forum, I saw a new ad. Looking for quiet, respectful roommate. Night shift nurse. Loves cats. The profile picture looked familiar. Same messy hair. Same half smile. But the name under it wasn't Mara anymore. It was mine. Even now, sometimes when I pass a mirror, I hesitate. Because for just a second, I'm not sure if the reflection's going to smile back or blink first. When I first moved to the city, I was broke, lonely, and desperate for a cheap place to stay. After 2 months of couch hopping, I found a listing online. Quiet apartment, low rent, female roommate preferred. The photos showed a small sunlit room. Nothing fancy, but livable. The owner's name was Clara. She said she was a grad student, barely home, and wanted someone responsible and quiet. Her messages were polite, short, formal sentences. It felt safe. When I arrived, she opened the door halfway, peeking out like she wasn't expecting anyone. Her eyes were sharp, gray, unblinking. Right on time, she said softly. Come in. The apartment was clean. Too clean. No dishes, no clutter, no smell of life. Just lemon cleaner and silence. Clara led me to my room. She didn't smile. Keep this door closed after midnight, she said. The building gets strange. I laughed awkwardly. What do you mean strange? She just tilted her head. You'll see. For the first week, nothing happened. We barely crossed paths. She left early, came home late, and never brought friends. But at night, the walls moved. At first, I thought it was the pipes. Then I noticed it only happened around 3 a.m. A faint rhythm, like someone pacing in the hall, stopping right outside my door. One night I opened it. No one was there. I caught a whiff of something. Faint perfume and cigarette smoke, even though Clara never smoked. The next morning, I asked if she'd been up late. Her face was blank. I don't walk after midnight, she said quietly. Neither should you. I laughed it off. But that night, curiosity won. At 2:55 a.m., I sat awake, staring at the door. The air felt heavy, like the apartment was breathing. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, closer. The knob trembled. I held my breath. Then on the faintest click, the door opened half an inch. A pale hand slid through the gap, fingers twitching, reaching toward the light switch. I screamed. The hand vanished. Footsteps retreated down the hall, faster, almost running. Seconds later, Clara's door opened. She stepped out, eyes wide with anger, or fear, I couldn't tell. What did you see? She whispered. I stammered. Someone was outside my door. She shook her head sharply. No one else lives here. Then calmly, she said, Don't ever open your door again after midnight. The next morning, she was gone. Her door was locked, her shoes missing, but her phone sat charging on the counter. For 3 days, she didn't come back. On the 4th night, I woke up thirsty and walked into the kitchen. A dim light glowed under her door. I knocked softly, no answer. Then I heard whispering. 2 voices. One was Clara's, the other sounded exactly like mine. I froze. Please don't, my voice said, trembling. Then Clara's. You said you wanted to stay forever. I backed away, heart racing. The next morning her door was wide open, the room empty. No bed, no clothes, No sign of anyone ever living there, only a small framed photo on the dresser. A woman who looked almost like Clara. But not quite. Same eyes, but older. And below it, a death certificate. Clara Belmont, died 2016. I dropped the frame and ran. I called the landlord from outside. He sighed heavily. Listen, I don't rent that apartment anymore. You must have gotten an old listing. But I've been living there for weeks. He paused, then said quietly, That unit's been empty for years. The last tenant died in there. Her name was Clara. I hung up and called the police. They found no ID, no personal records, no roommate listed under my name. But my belongings were still in the apartment, arranged neatly, like someone had packed them for me. They asked for Clara's description. When I told them, one officer exchanged a look with another. Then he said, You should leave this place tonight. I crashed at a coworker's place. For 2 nights I couldn't sleep. Then, around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed with a new text from an unknown number. You forgot your rent for next month. Don't worry, I'll cover it. You can pay me when you're back. Attached was a photo of the apartment, the same hallway, my old door slightly open. And through the crack, a pale hand reaching for the light switch. The police traced the number to a prepaid phone. No records, no name. 3 days later, I got an email from the same address I'd used to contact Clara. It wasn't text this time, just a scanned document. My lease renewal, signed by both of us, except the date said 2026, a year from now. And my signature wasn't mine. I tried to delete it. The file reappeared in my inbox 10 minutes later. Subject line, Welcome home. I've moved twice since then. No more roommates. No shared walls, no apartment listings. But last week my new landlord called. He said someone had come by asking for me. Said she was my former roommate and wanted to leave a package. He said she was polite, quiet. Didn't blink much. When I asked for her name, he hesitated. Then said, She told me to tell you. The building gets strange after midnight. Sometimes, late at night, I hear that sound again. Soft footsteps in the hall, pausing right outside my door, and when the knob turns ever so slightly, I don't move. I don't breathe, because I know if I open it, whoever's standing there might finally finish signing my name.